by the way, if you've never been to Mortgage Shots, here is the site. All you have to do is go to mortgageshots.com or go to the nationalrealestatepost.com, and you'll get our show on a daily basis. And it's going to be a show about real estate and mortgage lending, 5 to 9 minutes. They're a little bit longer today because we're just trying a different format to try to give you more in-depth information. But you'll get this with a little sales nourishment and maybe some direction you could go with a purchase or as a loan officer or real estate agent. Of course, share and subscribe. So I hope everyone's having a good day today. Happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday. You probably saw in the news, we had a helicopter crash right up the road from us on the highway. And everybody lived. So good things are happening in this world, so to speak, but doesn't that kind of feel like the type of good things that we're facing right now? I have a couple of videos I want to show you, and then I want to get to the reason why we're at where we're at, and then what your actionable items are as a buyer or a seller or a real estate agent or a lender. And what we're going to be talking, well, let's just jump into the videos right now. Okay.
Great. It produces debt, but if the debt is invested, that produces income, that it services the debt, it's a very healthy environment.
Right.
But what happens is that there's this accumulation of debt and debt service payments.
Debt service payments.
Right now, for example, for the government, we are operating with a $7 trillion spending and a $5 trillion intake. We're spending 40% more than we're taking in, and this is a chronic problem. So what you're seeing is the debt service payments beginning to squeeze away, not beginning, into squeezing away. So it's like plaque in the arteries, squeezing away buying power. You can do the numbers. You will see that you can have an economic heart attack as a result of that.
It's squeezing buying power, the policies that we have, and what we showed you yesterday with our two graphs on how we're spending money is problematic. But continue listening for a moment.
That we're going to very soon get to the position that you need debt to pay the debt. Think about it this way.
That's crazy,
Okay,
Ray.
$1 trillion in interest, $9 trillion of debt that's coming due. So you have to sell that again. That's $10 trillion, plus $2 trillion of new borrowing. That's $12 trillion that you have to sell in terms of the markets. So the second big influence is the supply-demand influence. By knowing
the supply and demand influence, I want you to hold on to that one.
Really how much has to be sold and who the buyers are and the likelihood of that amount being bought, one can calculate the imbalance. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to listen to this one over here. So what are private companies doing that mirrors what the federal government is doing? And here's what's taking place. It's all about special dividends and private equity firms, and this is happening all over the country. Now, listen to this.
On CEO compensation, have you spent any money on stock buybacks or payouts to your private equity owners?
There's been
payouts to your private equity owners.
Allocation of resources in a lot of different areas.
And in particular, it's $530 million in stock buybacks and dividend payments over the last few years, isn't it? Sound right?
I'll take your word for it, Senator.
And a special $180 million dividend payment to your private equity owners just before they sold the company.
$180 million specifically to a specific group of private equity owners. Now, what the company did was they bought a whole bunch of different companies out there. They consolidated them. They sold everything off for scrap, made a fortune, and then took that money and pocketed it rather than reinvesting.
Does that sound right?
Well, I think what you're referring to is a $3 dividend that was paid to all stockholders, but that was
No, I'm referring to a special dividend that was paid out, $180 million, the vast majority of which went to your private equity ownership right before they exited. Another word for this would be a heist. This sounds to me like private equity came in, bought up all of these small companies, as you described it, good American manufacturing companies, combined them, shut down their production, rolled up a huge backlog, massive profits, stiffed these guys, and now
So good manufacturing companies, they bought these companies out, they liquidated them. So now those are no longer jobs that are being offered. But you see, this is also going to positively affect the job reports, isn't it? Because if we don't have these companies who are looking for jobs, then we cannot look at our unemployment numbers as being higher. So the question then becomes, are our unemployment numbers skewed right now based on the policies from our corporations and from our federal government? After all, what you just heard from testimony on the Hill with a large equity firm who admittedly purchased a bunch of companies and then liquidated them and took these great manufacturing jobs and they just disappear. Oddly enough, that's going to help our numbers, our statistics when it comes out and we look at our overall health of our economy. So How does this affect what we're doing here in the mortgage space? Well, this one's actually pretty easy. So we aren't seeing rates go down as much as we think we should see rates go down. And the reason for that is really simple. If you get rid of the job openings and you can't apply for those jobs that are no longer there, then our unemployment numbers look better. And when we get our unemployment numbers and the Federal Reserve doesn't see that unemployment is going up, that in fact it's going down, not because people are getting employed, but there are fewer offerings because there are fewer jobs and people are hiring fewer people because of what we're seeing with inflation right now, because people aren't going out and spending money as they have in the past. All you have to do is go look at Reno, Nevada or Las Vegas. If you want to go to Las Vegas, right now is the time to go because nobody's going to Vegas. They're down by like 40%. And the reason is this, that's expendable money. And when I have less expendable money, I'm going to quit doing expendable things like going to Vegas and, pissing away a whole bunch of money on a room and on, gambling and all the other accoutrements that come along with going to Vegas. So right now, if you want to go to Vegas and get a penthouse, you can get one for $75. But these are all the ripple effects of the policies that we have in place by the federal government and by our private firms and what they're doing to our country right now. So again, let's just back up here for a second. What we just spoke about was fewer jobs out there because there are fewer openings because of private equity firms and what they're doing in our country. And if you think I'm wrong, I want you to look at this graph because it is absolutely stark. Check this out. Now, the gold line is manufacturing going back to the 1950s. Now, this is investing back into manufacturing as a percentage of your profits. Now, back in 1970s, we were peaked out looking at 70% of profits were going to be reinvested back into these companies so they can go ahead and produce more goods, better goods, smarter goods, diversified goods, things of that nature. Now, look at the stock buybacks. This was the last video that I just showed you. What does it tell us about stock buybacks? Well, in 1950s, nobody was buying stocks back. Now, look what's happening right now. These companies are out there purchasing their stock backs. Look at the chasm that exists between the blue line at the top. This is money that's being pulled back from corporations, which is creating fewer jobs, fewer opportunities, and it's skewing our unemployment numbers, and it's affecting our mortgage interest rates right now. That's what's happening. But you see, the problem is that the reinvestment in these companies, in manufacturing jobs, boy, all you have to say is, we have a long way to go before we get this back to a healthy market. What's a healthy market? Well, we've all seen the videos. We've all seen the images. We've all seen the memes. How much it would cost to buy the Brady's house in the 1970s, how much it would cost to buy the Simpsons house in the 1980s. Well, if we think back to the 70s, the 80s, the 60s, and the 50s, this was when home ownership rates were higher than they are right now, which is a strange thing. Well, maybe the graph that we're looking at right now explains a lot of that, because companies were reinvesting back in their companies, back in their workers, and we saw the healthy environment. What do we see happening right now? And it is grossly out of whack. We are seeing companies purchasing their stock back, enriching their investors, but it's coming at a cost, and it's coming at a cost on multiple fronts. One, temporarily, it's holding up interest rates. Two, it's led to higher prices for houses. And three, the big one for us, it led to home ownership rates that have dwindled over the past 3 decades. So what did we do? Well, we know what we did. We went out and we started bailing out. We started buying mortgage-backed securities, and we started trying to find ways to artificially prop up the housing market without getting to the systemic problem at the core of the issue. And the core of the issue is these corporations aren't giving, Jane and Joe, average American, an opportunity to go earn enough money to go out there and buy the house that they want to buy. Hence, we see this massive chasm right now. We see home ownership rates dwindling. We see rents going up right now. And it has a lot to do with what you're looking at right now in the testimony that you just heard on Capitol Hill. And what I showed you from the first video is the federal government is doing absolutely nothing right now meaningful to impact any type of long-term change in the housing market. Let's have a conversation about what we can do to help you with your business by coming on board with my team. Listen, I know this one was a little junky today, but we had a lot of stuff that was trying to move it around, and I'm still getting used to this new platform. But once again, do me a favor, share this on your social sites. That always helps. And when you reach out and have any questions, man, I got to tell you, that type of stuff makes my day.